Well, I'm thrilled to introduce my next guest, host of WikiGod, Mark Groleau. This show presents amazing people in Toronto doing really terrific, significant things. His show airs on Wednesdays on faithstrongtoday.com and on Joy 1250 at 9:30 a.m. and 3:30 p.m. You're not going to want to miss this show. And here he is, my guest, Mark Groleau. Thanks for hanging out with me here.
Thanks, Melinda. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah. So tell me how this started, the genesis of this podcast, WikiGod. How did it all begin?
Okay, well, it was one of those kind of lightning moments. My denomination said, create something, come back to us with an idea. So I wish it weren't so, but I was in the shower when the idea came to me. You know, it would be nice if it were somewhere more profound than that. But I really heard this. I had this sense, start a podcast. I've been a podcast junkie for years. I never thought of starting one. So, I mean, I just thought, well, that has to be God. I went downstairs, told my wife, and she said, how's that going to support our family? So we're
and wait, pause. And God showed up in the shower to give you this idea. Okay,
no,
continue.
No, I had subsequent showers hoping that would happen, but it didn't.
Okay.
And so really, I think when you're creating something, our best creations really are come out of the crucible of our experience. And so when I thought about starting a podcast, I thought, what would be a beneficial podcast? There's literally hundreds of thousands of podcasts. I wanted to do something for Toronto, and I basically started wondering, what is the podcast that I would love to hear that doesn't exist? And I always wished that there was a podcast in Toronto of Torontonians where I could listen to and find out what people in my city are doing, what Christians are about, what they're up to. And so I thought, well, it doesn't exist. First, I really searched hard for it, and then no, confirmed it doesn't exist. So I'm gonna start that up.
And are people in Toronto really doing amazing, significant things? Okay, that wasn't a slam. I'm just saying, are they doing?
No one is, and it's the most uninteresting podcast ever.
Well, considering Toronto, one of the most multicultural cities in the world, I think that's fantastic that you're highlighting these people. And give me a sense of the flavor of the kind of people you're interviewing and things that they're doing.
Yeah, so I guess I wanted it to be a place where people's work and their faith came together. That would be kind of how I would choose guests. And once I started searching, and I'm really grateful for those first few guests who agreed to come on, because you cold call and say, hi, you want to interview for a podcast that doesn't exist yet. So right. A few brave souls helped me out at the beginning. And I mean, it's everybody from pastors to academics, people in universities, heads of nonprofit organizations, bands. And the more I explore and look for people to book, the bigger and bigger it gets. And I'm just realizing, people are doing amazing things in Toronto, even out of our diversity. And I would say that is something that I wanted to highlight specifically. That's why I called it WikiGod, because of this generation. You want to ask a question about that?
Yeah, no, that's good. It was just like I had an aha moment.
Yeah.
Oh, that's why it's called WikiGod.
Yeah.
Got it.
I mean, hopefully Wikipedia stays around for long enough that people don't say, what's a wiki, what?
Yeah.
That expression, I think, really does capture a sentiment of a generation where everybody's voice has a right to be at the table. I mean, Wikipedia opened up this sense of, you can edit, you can contribute, you can scrutinize, you can... So in terms of theology, my background, I think this generation doesn't have a sense that, well, only the theologians, we just listen to pastors and academics. There's a sense that we are all doing theology and we're all doing it in our work, and I really wanted to capture that. I'm a recovering kind of a fundamentalist Christian, where I grew up in a church where you had to think a certain way, you had to look a certain way, you had to act a certain way. That didn't cut it for me. I became an atheist for several years in my university period. And so coming back and really exploring different denominations, different expressions, and learning to cherish the diversity, I think, has been an important part of my journey. I used to think denominations were tragic. It's such a sign of our fallenness, the Lutherans, the Pentecostals, the Wesleyans. But now I actually think that we all have different personalities, and those denominations kind of reflect the personalities, and I don't see that as a tragedy. I think I see more of that as a rich tapestry or a mosaic kind of approach. So that's
good. So when people listen to your show, I think that because it's story and highlighting people that are doing really great, significant things, I think that what people are going to take away from that is, I think, being inspired. Hopefully there'll be a change of saying, you know what, I want to do something like them. I want to make a difference in my community. Yeah. And I mean, when they listen to someone like
someone like Melinda, who has appeared on my podcast,
that will appear. That's right. That was such a shameless plug, but I had to kind of get that in. That I am going to be on your podcast. You're
kind of a big deal. Yeah.
No. But I mean, and I enjoyed it. I loved your style. I love what you do. And so what I think is great is that your WikiGod Wednesdays on Faith Strong today. So anybody who's listening or watching, they'll remember that WW.
Yeah.
Right?
The Wiki Wednesday.
Yeah.
All the
so
kids
that's
are
really
doing
good.
this. All the kids
and that you'll also be on Joy 1250, 9:30 a.m. and 3:30 p.m., which is great. So for people who want to listen on the radio, they can do that too, and then on the podcast on Faith Strong Today. So you're going to be everywhere. People are going to be hearing you all over the place.
Well, and more important than hearing me is hearing my guests, because that's what I want to highlight. There's so many people doing amazing things. Hearing each other's stories really gives us a place for each other's work, a lot more sympathy for what we're thinking. I think people's theological perspectives are kind of like snowflakes. They look similar, but when you zoom in and you really start picking away, there's lots to disagree about, but that shouldn't cause fights. I think there's way too much of that in the Christian family.
So is that your hope? So as people listen to your podcast or on the radio, one thing that you want people to get out of your stories that you do on WikiGod, what is it?
What do I want people to get out? I think, again, we have so much more sympathy for someone when we hear their story. If there's something that they think, or a theological perspective that we say, well, I don't agree with that. I think, but when you find out, well, what's the story? What's the crucible? What's the life experience behind that? It gives us a lot more grace and forgiveness and understanding, and allows that person to be more of a brother or a sister than someone to argue with. And especially when the work they're doing is unarguably incredible and gracious and loving, and that's what I'm discovering in WikiGod, and it's helping me recover. Awesome. So you're going to learn a lot by listening to Mark Groleau, host of WikiGod on Faith Strong Today every Wednesday. Remember, WikiGod Wednesday, and on Joy 1250, 9:30 a.m. and 3:30 p.m. every Wednesday. So check him out, and thanks. Thank you.
You did a great job.
Thanks a lot. You too.
You weren't even nervous, so it was great. So I'm looking forward to hearing my show.
Absolutely. It's a barn burner.
All right. Thanks.